I refused to bail my cousin out of jail after he spent years bullying me at family gatherings. Now everyone's calling me vindictive and saying I should have been the bigger person. I'm Jake, 32 years old, male. And I've spent most of my life swallowing humiliation like it was part of the family menu. The main chef? My cousin Brad, 35, who somehow managed to turn being a jerk into his entire personality. Brad's the kind of guy who never grew out of middle school cruelty. He just upgraded it with adult weapons. Every family gathering since I was a kid, he's found a way to make me the punchline. When I was 12 and had just gotten braces, he called me Metal Mouth in front of the whole backyard BBQ, then handed out actual aluminum foil to my little cousins so they could fit in. At 17, I finally worked up the courage to bring a date to our 4th of July party. He found my old 8th grade yearbook photo, printed it on paper plates, and served dessert on them. She never called me again. It didn't stop when we became adults. It just got meaner. Christmas 3 years ago, he told my new girlfriend, loudly enough for the whole room to hear, that she must be doing charity work dating me. When I tried to laugh it off, he added, "Don't worry, Jake's harmless. You just gotta make sure you keep him on a leash." People always excused it as just Brad being Brad. My parents would mutter something about not making waves. My aunt, his mom, would act like she didn't hear it, and the rest of the family would just laugh awkwardly and change the subject. If I tried to push back, I'd get accused of overreacting or not being able to take a joke. Eventually, I learned it was easier to just go quiet, drink too much punch, and count down the hours until I could leave. Here's the thing. Brad never had real consequences for anything. Not for getting arrested at 19 for fighting outside a bar. His dad smoothed that over. Not for totaling 2 cars before 25. Insurance mysteriously paid out both times. Not for getting fired from 3 different jobs in under 2 years. Each time, his parents covered his rent until he got back on his feet. He's never faced a problem he couldn't charm, bluff, or bully his way out of. Until last month. It was a Sunday morning when my phone lit up with my mom's name. She didn't even say hello, just, "Jake, you need to get down to the station and bail Brad out. He's in trouble." My gut twisted, not from worry, but from the familiar dread of being dragged into his chaos again. Apparently, he'd gotten drunk, picked a fight at a local sports bar, and smashed someone's car window with a pool cue. Property damage, public intoxication, resisting arrest, the whole package. Bail was set at $4,500. I said, "No." Silence. Then my mom's voice got that sharp, scolding edge I knew too well. "Don't be petty. He's family." Petty? I almost laughed. The image of Brad at last year's reunion, snapping a photo of me mid-bite so he could post it with the caption, "Jake, still single, still hungry," flashed in my head. "I'm not paying to get him out of something he did to himself," I said. "He's a grown man. Let him handle it." Within an hour, my phone was blowing up. My aunt crying that I was being vindictive. My dad warning me I'd regret this when the family falls apart. Even a Facebook post from one of Brad's friends about how some people can't put grudges aside in a crisis. But this time, I didn't cave. And that was the day I realized refusing to rescue Brad wasn't just about the money. It was about finally flipping the script. The fallout came faster than I expected. By Monday afternoon, it wasn't just texts, it was people showing up. I was in the middle of fixing a leaky kitchen faucet when I heard tires screech in my driveway. My Aunt Sheila, Brad's mom, came storming up the path like she was about to evict me from my own house. She didn't even knock, just shoved the door open so hard it banged against the wall and rattled the picture frames. "You heartless little coward," she spat. "Brad is sitting in a cell, and you're sitting here playing handyman?" I set the wrench down slowly, trying to keep my voice even. "Sheila, he's in there because he broke a stranger's car window with a pool cue. That's not my—" "Don't you dare," she snapped, stepping so close I could smell the cloying perfume she always drowned herself in. "You've been jealous of him your whole life. This is just your little revenge fantasy, isn't it?" I almost laughed. Jealous? Of a guy who still listed Beer Pong Champion 2008 on his Facebook profile? When I didn't answer, she grabbed a framed photo from my hallway table, me and my dad fishing last summer, and slammed it face down. "If your mother had raised you right, you'd know family sticks together." That was the thing about Sheila. When she didn't get her way, she went straight for destruction. Brad got it from her. By that night, the story had spread beyond family. Someone, my money's on Brad's girlfriend, Amanda, posted a long, vague rant on Facebook about people who can't forgive and forget, tagging half our extended family. The comments were full of thinly veiled jabs, stuff like, "Some people don't understand loyalty," and "Wait until you're the one who needs help." My phone was buzzing nonstop. Then the texts from Brad started. At first, it was fake friendly. "Yo, man, I know we've had our differences, but I need you here." When I didn't respond, it turned sour fast. "You're dead to me. You're a pathetic little worm who hides behind mommy and daddy's apron strings." That one made me laugh, considering he was literally begging his mommy and daddy to bail him out at that exact moment. But the part that made my blood boil was what happened Wednesday. I came home from work to find my front yard covered in garbage. Fast food bags, beer cans, even a broken lawn chair. Someone had dumped it right across my walkway and smashed the lid on my trash bin. Sitting on top of the mess was a note in all caps. "Have fun being alone forever." No signature, but I didn't need one. I was still standing there, staring at it, when my neighbor popped his head over the fence. "Saw a red pickup pull up around 2 p.m., he said. "Guy with a baseball cap did it. Pretty sure it was your cousin." Brad had driven to my house while out on bail, so someone else caved and paid it, just to trash my yard. And in that moment, something in me clicked. For years, Brad had gotten away with humiliating me in public because I'd let it go. I'd be the bigger person so the family could have their nice little gatherings without drama. But this, showing up at my house, vandalizing my property, this crossed into a different category. That night, as I swept beer cans off my driveway, I wasn't thinking about grudges anymore. I was thinking about payback. The kind that would stick to him the way his cruelty had stuck to me. Don't forget to subscribe. The plan didn't come to me all at once. It started as this low, buzzing thought in the back of my head while I was bagging up the trash Brad had dumped on me. What if just once I didn't let him walk away clean? Brad's whole identity rested on two things: being the loudest guy in the room and keeping everyone laughing at someone else's expense. He thrived on control. Even his arrests were spun into funny bar fight stories where he was the hero. If you challenged that image, if you poked a hole in his swagger, he unraveled. I didn't want to hit him where he expected: money, bail, even public arguments. No, I wanted to take that shiny version of himself he sold to everyone and crack it right down the middle. The opportunity came faster than I thought. Thursday evening, I stopped by my parents' place to drop off a toolbox I'd borrowed. Mom was in the kitchen, barely looking at me, clattering pans around like I'd personally ruined her week. Dad gave me the usual tight-lipped "hello" that really meant "fix this, Jake." Before I could even set the toolbox down, Mom said, "You need to apologize to your cousin before Grandma's birthday on Sunday. We don't want drama at her party." I felt that buzzing thought flare up again. "So you want me to show up, pretend nothing happened, and let him get away with vandalizing my property?" Her mouth tightened. "Sometimes you have to take the high road." Right? The high road. The one where Brad gets chauffeured in a limo while I walk barefoot in the gravel. That's when she mentioned it, without even realizing what she was giving me. "He's planning to make a little speech for Grandma. You know how she loves when people say nice things about her in front of everyone." Brad making a speech meant Brad had a microphone, which meant Brad had an audience, which meant I could make sure that audience heard more than just his charm. I kept my face neutral and nodded. "Sure, I'll be there." That night, I pulled out an old shoebox from my closet. It was where I'd stashed years of little mementos, things I didn't throw away because part of me knew someday they'd matter. Photos from family events, printouts of Facebook posts, even screenshots of texts. I'd started collecting them years ago after one too many Jake's just sensitive comments. There it was, 3 years worth of Brad's greatest hits. Him calling me a failed science experiment in a family group text. A picture of him pouring beer into my backpack at a cookout. A selfie he posted with my ex, captioned, "Upgrade achieved." And my personal favorite, a blurry shot of him passed out on my couch during Christmas 2019, shirtless, with Property of county jail, scrawled across his chest in Sharpie, courtesy of his own drunk friends. All of it, time-stamped, dated, and ready to be seen. By Friday, I had a plan. I wasn't going to confront him in private. I wasn't going to argue. I was going to wait until he was at his peak, front and center, grinning in front of everyone, and then I was going to take that microphone. The high road? I was about to build my own road, paved with every ounce of humiliation he'd ever dumped on me. And Sunday couldn't come fast enough. Grandma's birthday was one of those events where everyone showed up dressed nicer than usual but still pretended it was just a casual get-together. My family's way of saying we're going to judge you if you don't iron your shirt, but we'll act like we're above caring. The rented hall smelled like frosting and cologne. Tables were covered in pale pink tablecloths, each with a little vase of roses in the center. Grandma sat at the head table in her favorite lilac dress, smiling at everyone who came up to kiss her cheek. For a moment, I almost felt bad about what I was planning. Almost. Brad was in his element from the second he walked in. Button-up shirt just tight enough to show off his gym routine, that smug grin already plastered on his face. He slapped people on the back, told exaggerated stories, laughed loud enough to carry across the room. When the cake was rolled out and everyone gathered for speeches, he was practically vibrating with anticipation. My mom beamed at him like he was about to accept an Oscar. He took the mic, cleared his throat dramatically, and started his performance. "I just want to say," he began, hand over his heart like a politician, "that Grandma has always been there for me. Even when I wasn't the easiest kid, she believed in me. She's the reason I try to be the man I am today. Someone who looks out for his family no matter what." That was my cue. I walked up to the stage slow, casual, like I was just coming to clap him on the shoulder. He glanced at me, clearly annoyed, but didn't stop talking. Because when family needs you, I took the mic right out of his hand. The room went dead silent. "Sorry to interrupt," I said, voice steady. "But since we're talking about looking out for family, I thought it'd be good to clear something up." You could feel the collective "oh no" ripple through the crowd. My mom's face went white. My aunt's lips were pressed so tight they could have cut glass. I reached into my jacket and pulled out the small stack of photos and printouts I'd folded there. I've been told I should be the bigger person for years, that I should let Brad's jokes slide. So I thought maybe everyone should see what those jokes have looked like. I started reading them off, just a few, enough to paint the picture. The group text where he called me a walking participation trophy. The photo of him pouring beer into my backpack. And then, with the precision of a magician revealing the final card, I held up the Sharpie photo. The room erupted in mixed reactions. Laughter from the cousins who'd always rolled their eyes at Brad, sharp whispers from the older relatives, an audible gasp from Grandma. Brad lunged for the mic, but I stepped back. "No worries," I said calmly. "I'm done. Just wanted to make sure the man you're applauding is the same man you think he is." I handed the mic to Grandma, because if there's one person Brad wouldn't snatch it from, it's her, and walked off. Brad stood frozen, face red, gripping the mic stand like he could crush it. And for the first time in my life, he didn't have a comeback ready. Don't forget to subscribe. Update. Well, y'all weren't kidding when you said this would blow up. I posted about what happened at Grandma's party 2 days ago, thinking maybe a handful of you would see it, nod, and move on. Instead, my phone hasn't stopped buzzing. Texts from relatives, Facebook tags, screenshots from people I barely talk to. Even a DM from some guy I've never met who just wrote, "Saw the Sharpie pic. Legend." The aftermath started the second I left the party. I hadn't even pulled out of the parking lot when my mom called, voice at that sharp whisper-scream volume she uses when she doesn't want people nearby to hear. "How dare you humiliate your cousin like that in front of Grandma?" I said, "How dare he humiliate me for 30 years straight?" and hung up. By the next morning, the family was split right down the middle. Half are calling me vindictive, disrespectful, immature. The other half, mostly the cousins who've been on the receiving end of Brad's jokes, are thanking me for finally saying what everyone else has been too chicken to say. One of my uncles actually texted, "About time somebody knocked him off his high horse. Should have been me, but you did it cleaner." Brad, though, he's unraveling. First, it was a barrage of texts. "You think you're funny. You just made yourself a bigger joke than me. Hope you enjoy the attention while it lasts. You're done in this family. Then came the Instagram post. Black background, white text. Some people are so miserable they can only feel big by tearing others down. He tagged me. Actually tagged me. But the kicker? This morning I woke up to find out he's been DMing a couple of my friends trying to set the record straight. Sending them his version of events, which conveniently leaves out the part where he trashed my yard and spent years making me the family punchline. One friend screenshotted it and wrote back, "Dude, Jake literally showed us the receipts." Here's the thing. A few of you in the comments said I should have gone further. Some of you said I should have brought up the arrest too. Trust me, that thought has been gnawing at me since Sunday. I held it back because I figured the point was made. But then Brad decided to start rewriting history. And I'm starting to think maybe it's time for round 2. Something poetic. Something he can't spin into a joke. Because if he wants to keep making this public, I can make it very public. If Brad wanted to keep this public, then public he was going to get. By Wednesday, I'd already decided that holding back at Grandma's party had been a mistake. I'd let him off with embarrassment, but not devastation. And Brad was the kind of guy who didn't stop until you left him no place to stand. The opportunity came via pure luck. One of my friends from high school, Colin, now worked at the local sports bar where Brad had gotten himself arrested. Colin had been there that night, saw the whole thing, and, bless him, still had access to the security footage. "You serious about wanting to roast this guy?" Colin asked when I called him. "Dead serious," I said. The next evening, Colin sent me a file. The grainy black and white video showed Brad, already swaying, arguing with some poor guy in a baseball cap. Then Brad slammed his beer down, picked up a pool cue, and, clear as day, smashed the other guy's car window. Right there in the parking lot. It was perfect. But I didn't just want to post it online and call it a day. I wanted it to be seen by the exact people who'd been telling me to be the bigger person. I wanted it to land right in the middle of Brad's carefully curated image. So I waited until Friday night, when I knew Brad would be at his weekly poker game with the same group of relatives and friends who'd been defending him all week. I asked Colin to text me right before the bar's Instagram page, where he now worked the social media. Accidentally, posted the clip with the caption, "When keeping it real goes wrong." At 8:12 p.m., my phone lit up. 8:13 p.m., the video went live. And by 8:15 p.m., my group chat with the cousins was going insane. "Bro, this is bad. Is this the arrest night? I can't believe he actually did that. He told us the guy attacked him." Apparently, the poker game didn't last long. Brad stormed out halfway through, after someone played the video on the TV in the corner. The next morning, my Aunt Sheila called me, voice tight. "Did you have something to do with that video?" I took a sip of my coffee. "Nope, but I did enjoy watching it." She tried to scold me about family loyalty again, but I could hear the doubt creeping into her voice. She'd seen the proof, and proof is a hell of a lot harder to argue with than my word against Brad's. By Saturday afternoon, the clip had spread far beyond our family. People were tagging Brad, sharing it, adding crying, laughing emojis. Someone even put slow-motion music over it and turned it into a meme. And for the first time in my life, Brad went quiet. No jokes, no comebacks, no attempts to spin it. Just silence. It was beautiful. But I should have known it wouldn't stay that way. Because when Brad finally reacted, he didn't just go after me. He tried to drag other people into it. And that's when things got ugly. Brad's silence didn't last a week. By Tuesday night, he was back online. Only this time, he wasn't just defending himself. He was launching a full-on smear campaign. First came the cryptic Facebook post. Some people are obsessed with tearing down others because they can't handle their own failures. Sad. That got a few sympathy comments from his usual crew, but most people ignored it. Then, he went further. I got a call from my buddy Trevor, who sounded half amused, half pissed. "Dude, Brad's been DMing people saying you've been stealing from Grandma's bank account." I actually laughed out loud. "Seriously? That's the best he's got?" But then Trevor said, "He's sending screenshots." My stomach tightened. Screenshots of what? Turns out Brad had taken an old Venmo payment from Grandma. She'd sent me $200 last year for fixing her sink. and cropped it to make it look like a withdrawal. He was sending it around like a smoking gun. I'd dealt with his verbal crap before, but this was different. This was accusing me of stealing from an 82-year-old woman. And while I knew it was garbage, not everyone he sent it to did. By Wednesday morning, I had 3 different family members texting me to clear things up. Grandma even called, confused, asking why Brad said I'd borrowed money without paying it back. That was the tipping point. I called Brad. No text, no email, straight to the source. He answered on the second ring, smug as ever. "Enjoying yourself?" I asked. He chuckled. "Hey, you started this. I'm just finishing it." "No, Brad," I said, my voice steady but low. "You're about to finish it. You've got 24 hours to apologize to Grandma and send proof to everyone you lied to. Or, I'm going to make sure every single person who's ever crossed paths with you sees exactly who you are. And trust me, you're not ready for that." He tried to laugh it off, but I could hear the edge in it now. He knew I still had more. And I did. Because tucked away in that shoebox of mine was something I hadn't even considered using until now. A little folder of screenshots from the time Brad accidentally sent me a string of messages meant for one of his side girlfriends, while he was still living with his then-girlfriend Amanda. They were explicit, and they included him bragging about how she paid the rent so he didn't have to work much. If the video had been a crack in his image, those screenshots were a sledgehammer to it. And in that moment, I realized, if Brad didn't back down, I wouldn't just embarrass him. I'd nuke him. Update 2. So, I didn't expect that many of you to tell me to drop the nuke. Honestly, I figured half the comments would tell me to be the bigger person again. Instead, I had people writing me multi-paragraph battle strategies on how to release those screenshots for maximum damage. Some of y'all are scary, in a way I appreciate. Here's where things stand. After my last post, I gave Brad the 24-hour deadline. He blew it off at first, posting more passive-aggressive crap online, like, "Some people love drama because it's the only time anyone pays attention to them." But about 14 hours in, my phone buzzed with a text from him. "What's your problem, man? Just let it go." Let it go? This from the guy who was still sending around that fake bank proof like he was breaking Watergate? I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded him a single image from the folder. Just one. Nothing explicit, just a screenshot of his own message talking about Amanda paying his rent while he focused on poker nights. The timestamp was right there from when he was still living with her. 5 minutes later, he called. Didn't even say hello, just launched straight into, "You wouldn't dare." I kept my voice calm. "You've got 10 hours now. Apologize to Grandma, clear my name, or I'll let the internet decide whether I dare." He hung up. Here's where it gets weird. Around dinner time, Grandma called again. She said Brad had shown up at her house, all upset, telling her I was threatening him. She asked me point blank if I was, and for the first time, I just told her everything. I expected her to be mad. But she went quiet for a long time and then said, "He's been like this since he was a boy. Maybe it's time someone taught him." That hit me harder than I thought it would. So yeah, I'm leaning toward hitting the button. Not just for me, because clearly I'm not the only one he's burned, but because Brad's never been held accountable for anything in his life. If he wants to play in the mud, I'll make sure he sinks in it. Don't forget to subscribe. I didn't sleep much that night. Not because I was second-guessing myself. No, that part was already decided. But because I was thinking about the how. If I was going to do this, it had to be surgical. Not messy rage posting, precise, controlled, irrefutable. By 9 a.m., I had the plan. First, I gathered every piece of digital ammo I had. Screenshots of Brad's cheating messages, the rent comment, him bragging about skipping work, plus a few choice gems from his jokes at my expense over the years. Then I backed it all up in multiple places. Cloud Drive, USB, even emailed it to myself. If Brad tried to claim hacking or deletion, I'd have timestamps to shut him down. Second, I picked the delivery system. I wasn't going to just blast it on my personal page where only my circle would see it. Nope. I compiled everything into a single, neatly organized Imgur album with captions for context, then wrote a short, calm intro. For those who've been told a certain story about me in recent weeks, here's some actual evidence. You can make up your own mind. And the link? I sent it directly to the group chat that had been the epicenter of Brad's smear campaign. The family one, with aunts, uncles, cousins, and yes, grandma. I also sent it to Amanda, his ex-girlfriend, because she deserved to know just how much rent she'd been covering while he was sneaking around. The first reply came from cousin Jen. "Oh my God," then Uncle Rob. "This is worse than I thought." Silence from Brad. For about 20 minutes. Then the explosion. First, I heard from Amanda. She called me, to say she'd just kicked Brad out. Apparently, she'd suspected he was cheating, but never thought it was with that many people. She also mentioned that the rent he bragged about her paying, she'd been dipping into her savings to do it. Meanwhile, the family chat had turned into a battlefield. Aunts were accusing me of going too far. Cousins were posting popcorn emojis. Grandma hadn't said a word until she finally typed, "Brad, you owe a lot of people an apology. Start with Jake." That one line hit harder than anything else in there. Brad didn't respond. But the real confirmation that I'd landed the shot came later that night. My neighbor texted me a picture, Brad's red pickup, parked outside my house, and then driving away after sitting there for about 5 minutes. He hadn't knocked. He hadn't dumped trash. He just sat there, then left. For the first time in my life, I think Brad realized there wasn't a comeback for this. But if I thought it was over, I was wrong. Because the next day, he tried something desperate and ugly. The next day, I was midway through fixing a bathroom light fixture when my phone lit up with unknown number. I almost ignored it, until the voicemail came through. It was Brad. Except it wasn't the smug, bulletproof Brad I'd dealt with all my life. His voice was ragged, like he'd been yelling or maybe crying. "You think you've won? You don't know what you've done, Jake. Amanda's gone, my friends won't talk to me, even my boss saw it. I could lose my job. I hope you're happy." I should have felt guilty, but all I felt was done. Then, an hour later, Amanda herself called again, this time furious. Apparently, Brad had tried to spin the whole thing as me faking the screenshots. When she didn't buy it, he told her I'd been obsessed with ruining him since we were kids, and here's the kicker. He accused me of hacking his accounts. Amanda didn't believe it for a second. "Jake, he's spiraling, and he's scared. That's the only reason I'm telling you. He's talking about showing up at your place." That night, I double-locked everything, kept the porch light on. I wasn't afraid of him hurting me, but I didn't trust him not to pull something stupid that could drag the cops into this. Sure enough, around 11 p.m., headlights crawled past my house. Twice. Then they stopped down the block. I stepped out onto the porch, phone in hand, camera rolling. When the red pickup finally pulled into view, I just held up my phone and waved. Brad floored it, tires squealing, and disappeared into the night. After that, it was like someone flipped a switch. He went silent online. The smear campaign stopped. Family chat went quiet too, except for the occasional "hope everyone's well" from Grandma, which I knew was her way of keeping the peace without taking sides publicly. The real fallout came in whispers. My cousin Jen told me Brad had been put on probation at work after someone sent HR the video from the bar. Uncle Rob said Brad's poker crew had replaced him with another guy. And Amanda? She moved out of state. As for me, I started getting invites again, from the same relatives who'd been calling me vindictive 2 weeks earlier. Suddenly, I wasn't causing drama anymore. I was just being honest. Funny how that works when the golden boy's shine wears off. The last time I saw Brad was 3 weeks later at the grocery store. He was by the frozen pizzas, hood up, eyes darting like he was hoping I wouldn't see him. I didn't say a word, just walked past. Because the truth is, I'd already said everything I needed to. For the first time in my life, Brad wasn't the one with the last word. And I didn't need one.